I'm the Doctor. I'm a Time Lord. I'm from the planet Gallifrey in the constellation of Kasterborous.
I hope the ears are a bit less conspicuous this time.
You might be a doctor, but I am the doctor.
I'm a doctor, but probably not the one who looks good. Absolutely fantastic.
All of time and space, everything that ever happened or ever will. Where do you want to start?
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Big Running Inside a new Who Doctor Who Watch Along podcast. We're back again. No watch along today. This week and next week, it is just random videos or random stuff we want to talk about. Then we will be back with Series 3 straight after that. But before that, we thought the internet is full of Doctor Who Series 13 rumours right now. So myself and Harry, say hi, Harry.
Heya.
We thought we would run down some of these Series 13 rumours and sort of maybe work out the possibility of them, what we think of them, and sort of try and debunk them. Sort of Mythbusters style. Do you like Mythbusters, Harry? You ever seen Mythbusters?
I remember watching, I've never seen Mythbusters, but I remember as a kid there was a show called Prove It, which was like Mythbusters for kids. And it was also British.
So the first one, I've split this up into categories. So the first category I want to talk about is the TARDIS. Now, there was a rumour, and from what I can remember when we spoke about it, the source was that I saw it on Twitter, and since then I've seen other people talk about it with more depth, is that Series 13, an ongoing story of Series 13 will be that the TARDIS is dying. When we did the original video, a lot of people said that it was an interesting plot point, while other people said, what's the point of the TARDIS dying because the show sort of revolves around the TARDIS? I feel like those people also won't be aware that the third Doctor, his first whole series really sort of revolves around him being stuck on Earth. And with restrictions on filming and COVID and things like that, I feel like this could possibly be a slight possibility towards this. What do you think, Harold?
Well, the thing that's just come to mind now is that we've had a lot of set leaks and such, and photos from filming of this series. And while some of them, such as like the filming with the Weeping Angels on the beach, you can't really place what time period it's in, we've not seen any kind of explicit set dressings or props which allude to any particular historical period of time, past or future, which would potentially mean that...
I could be about to debunk that. The Sontaran episode, I believe, could take place around the Civil War. I'm not 100% sure about that. I feel like I saw some set photos of people in a sort of old-timey military outfit, you know, like that sort of like dark burgundy red sort of colour.
Okay.
But apart from that is all I've seen. That's all I've seen.
Yeah. Because I was going to suggest that if the only stuff we'd seen on set was modern day, then that could suggest that the TARDIS is in fact dying or incapable of time travel.
Yeah.
But like you said, perhaps that's not the case. Or
but
maybe
that is the only one I've seen.
Yeah. So it could be a possibility that early on, at the start of the season, and the TARDIS is working then, but then, you know, it starts to die and is then not capable of time travel later on.
Yeah.
Who knows?
John Bishop breaks it with his Liverpudlian ways. Steals the tyres off it. Another TARDIS thing I want to talk about is the fact that we... gloss over that. Is that there was... this, I think, again, I feel like sometimes we're the source of a lot of these rumours because I just kind of speculate stuff. And usually we're quite good at getting the speculation out there first and other people tend to jump on our bandwagon. Is that there could be a new TARDIS room. We could be about to explore the TARDIS. They were filming at the Cardiff Millennium Centre, which is where they filmed a lot of Doctor Who there. It's the big building with the big bronze roof, and it's got some Welsh words written into it near the Torchwood Tower. Basically, it looked like a big fancy alien cantina. I picked up on some of the dressing on the wall and said it resembled elements of TARDIS, you know, like the bits on the edge of the TARDIS where they sort of come off the wall and hang over. It looks similar to that, you know, like in Tennant's thing and a bit in Capaldi's as well.
Yeah.
Again, that literally nothing about that, about the fact that I think it would be cool to explore more rooms in the TARDIS, because I do like it when we have TARDIS-based episodes.
So is the suggestion here not that the TARDIS is going to change its appearance, just that we're going to see more of this incarnation of the TARDIS?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be all for that. Like you said, we only really get glimpses of additional TARDIS interior in episodes such as Doctor's Wife and what's it called? Journey to the Center of the TARDIS. And I'm guessing the reason why is that the TARDIS is probably the most expensive set for the for the Cardiff kind of filming crew to put up and film in.
Well, I believe once
it's
up, it stays up. So they put it up and it just stays there forever.
But I imagine that kind of throughout filming kind of other sets, such as kind of one-off episodes, they don't put as much money or production into that as they do, like you said, kind of a more permanent TARDIS set. And so perhaps trying to then create extra rooms of the TARDIS that are of a similar standard is, again, similarly expensive, which is why we usually just see the one room.
Yeah.
Which is funny. It's funny to think that filming an episode that all takes place within the TARDIS would potentially be more expensive than something that takes place in some wild location.
Yeah, you would think that because we're staying in one location, it would therefore be cheaper, but they've actually then got to build, like 5 different new TARDIS corridors, or just build one and turn it round every now and again.
Yeah. I remember for the Doctor's Wife, wasn't it just like one hexagonal corridor that Amy and Rory were trapped inside?
I think so. I know when I visited the Smith TARDIS in Cardiff, like you just literally, if you just
Which Smith TARDIS?
The second one.
Okay.
Yeah, if you just stand at an angle, it looks like these corridors gone forever. But if you just take a step to the left, you can just see the end of this corridor. So,
right.
Yeah, so it's like they're like 6 foot of corridor. But then, yeah, I know in those episodes in particular, they just built big corridors and just chopped them up and moved them around a bit. So, yeah. Anything else you want to say about the TARDIS before we move on?
Are there any other rooms about the TARDIS?
No, that's about it, I think.
Well, I feel like it would be interesting because obviously in the Moffat era, we saw a lot of stuff done relating to time travel. But really in kind of New Who in general, we've not really had many plot lines relating directly to the TARDIS other than, say, Bad Wolf and the Heart of the TARDIS.
Yeah.
So to have some kind of overarching plot relating to the TARDIS itself could be fun to explore. So I hope there is something going on.
This is a command from the Daleks. All listeners are demanded to subscribe to our Patreon. Subscribe or you will be exterminated. Seek, locate, subscribe.
Yeah, it would be good. I do like a good TARDIS episode. But what I love more than a good TARDIS episode, Harry, is some classic monsters returning, because it seems like despite Doctor Who being a program about change, we love nothing more than seeing some classic faces and some classic monsters appear. So we've got a list here of monsters that are rumoured to return, and some of them more confirmed than others. So let's get straight into it with the return of the Weeping Angels, who we saw a little while ago. I remember reporting on it, and at the time we thought it could just possibly be an inclusion in the mobile game, The Lonely Assassins, which is a Weeping Angel-based detective game you can play on your phone. But since then, we've seen Jodie with the Weeping Angels, Mandip Gill with the Weeping Angels as well. How do you feel about seeing the return of those, Harold?
I think I remember saying something closer to when it was announced, and I will pretty much regurgitate it here, which is that I believe if the Weeping Angels are returning, it's most likely this will be their first appearance in the show in an episode not penned by Stephen Moffat. And I'm just very excited and interested to see what a new writer, whether that's Chibnall or someone else on his writing team, I'd be interested to see what they do with the Angels. Maybe they'll think of a new angle or a new thing to do them that not even Moffat thought of.
Yeah, because when I think me and Harrison spoke about it as well, and we said that there's the popular fan theory. I'm not going to go too much into it here. That the Weeping Angels are actually Time Lords, and that they are frozen Time Lords, or there's something to do with the fact that, yeah, because at the end of time, you know, where the Master is stood next to Razalon, and there's like a woman in that episode who keeps looking at the Doctor. She's holding the same pose as a Weeping Angel. So perhaps that would be quite interesting to tie in with the Timeless Child sort of scenario, I guess. I'm just going through here. Sorry, go on.
I'm trying to remember, because I remember in the End of Time, they did make the Time Lords made some kind of verbal reference to the Weeping Angels. I can't remember exactly what it was, but from what I can remember, that's kind of the most we've received in terms of Weeping Angels lore. We don't really know much about kind of where they've come from, like if they are an alien race or some kind of more divine entity. So it would be cool to.
Yeah, it would be fun. I think it's be interesting to see a different take on them by a different writer. I'm just going through here on the TARDIS wiki page, and there's been a couple of Doctor Who episodes where Weeping Angels have appeared that haven't been written by Stephen Moffat, but a lot of them seem to be one-time appearances. You know, they just appear in a background rather than featuring a full episode. But another monster that's set to return is the Sontarans. One of the first, I think, that we saw, one of the first set leaks we saw was the Sontarans. And at the same time that was leaked, so were some images of John Bishop so were some images of June Bishop. They were on set. I did a face there that clearly indicated I wasn't too happy with my June Bishop impression. But yeah, so the Sontarans, they're returning. We might know a little bit more about their return in the sense that it will be past episode 3. And I will get into more of that later. But so yeah, what do you think about this?
These the Sontarans are the ones that have had a redesign, right?
Yeah, more of a classic. Gone back to more of a classic look. Lost the blue tint.
Something that looks a bit grittier, more grounded rather than sci-fi, which I think is cool. Obviously, the Sontarans were a certain level of threatening when they first came back in Series 4, but during the Moffat era, they very quickly kind of turned into an almost comic relief villain.
Yeah, especially with Strax, with him in the Paternoster gang and stuff like that. I mean, he's great. Dan Starkey, who plays Strax, is amazing. He's very funny as Strax. But yeah, it would be nice to, and I know a lot of Doctor Who fans have sort of said, you know, they kind of lost their menaceness a little bit thanks to that.
And you know, if you think about what Sontarans are, which are kind of like an alien species, kind of that whole society is built around warfare and going to war, and the whole thing is of them, you know, having their weakness on their back, so they're always forced to face their enemy. It's a really kind of interesting concept. It'd be cool to kind of see that explored in a kind of grittier, more grounded way, if that is what these redesigns suggest.
Yeah, and that's supposed to be the Civil War episode as well. I believe it's Civil War. I think I'm right in that.
Like
so that'd be
the US Civil War?
What was that, sorry?
Is that the US Civil War?
No, it's the MCU Civil War. It's going to be teaming up with Bucky and Spider-Man.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Another.
It's impressive that they've managed to.
They've managed to cross over.
I was going to say something about paying for Tom Holland to make an appearance, but I
put him in the thumbnail. Tom Holland's seen on set next to Catherine Tate.
I've already seen the thumbnail. It's actually a very good thumbnail.
Thank you very much.
You've actually made the red circle. You've made the red circles look like the endgame portals. Actually,
I did think of doing that. Another returning monster, apparently yet to be seen on set, but there's been some hints. Is the Zygons. Now, the only real hint we have towards this is that when they were filming in Liverpool, several props were being delivered, and one of the props had the Zygon emblem on the side of it. Unbeknownst to me, the Zygons had an emblem. I had no idea they had one until I googled it. But yeah, it was a prop and it had the Zygon emblem on the side of it. Now, that could possibly just be background prop like we saw in the Day of the Doctor, where they went into the unit archives and there was lots of different props there from previous Doctor Who episodes. So perhaps it could just be a throwaway gag, a little hint to something to come in future episodes maybe. But then again, maybe with some stuff that we've spoken about in the past, perhaps certain companions could be revealed to be Zygons all along. What do you think, Harold?
Well, there's many ways that you can kind of interpret a prop with the Zygon emblem. Obviously, like you said, there could be a Zygon episode, which would be cool to see. Our second proper Zygon episode in New Who. But also, like you said, the last time we saw a prop or something pertaining to Zygons was also related to Unit. Now, I know, is it not correct that during Spyfall, Unit was like destroyed or disbanded or something?
I think it was off screen and then we found out about it in Spyfall, yeah.
Yeah. So maybe instead of the Zygons coming back, it's a background prop in a abandoned Unit base, or perhaps kind of the last remnants of Unit, or maybe even Torchwood.
You just
Who knows?
Yeah, perhaps like a Unit-based sort of Torchwood show. Perhaps that would be quite interesting. I like the idea.
Yeah,
of that.
obviously Jack has been established to be kind of back, and we know that at the end of the holiday special, he went to go catch up with some of his Torchwood friends. Maybe he's still there. Maybe he's going to appear in an episode during this series. It's not off the charts. It's not off the.
And with BBC Three set to return as well, you know, a lot of people have been calling for a Torchwood revival, even if it's just a Sherlock-style 3-episode, hour and a half stories. I think there's a possibility that there could actually be some, maybe not truth in what we've just said, but definitely a possibility. It would be something I think people would be excited to see.
Yeah. Well, if Torchwood were to come, it would only make sense to reintroduce them via the main show, because they were initially introduced via the main show.
And there will be a lot of people who have grown up with the Matt Smith, Peter Capaldi era, going on to Jodie, or just started with Jodie, who won't necessarily know what Torchwood is. Especially
That's
this
true. There are a
spin-off
lot
show.
of new viewers.
One last returning monster that we have literally no confirmation of, apart from the picture on a bus, is the Autons. How familiar are you with the possible return of this, and what do you know about the return of the Autons?
How do we know? So was that an image on the side of a bus?
Okay, so Doctor Who was filming and they had a bus on set, and there was an advertisement on the side of the bus that was a model wearing some glasses, and the business name was Autons, was like the fictional business name. But here's the thing, this is why I've saved it till last, it's because it was spelt differently, and there actually is a glasses company called Autons.
So it could either be just a crazy coincidence, some kind of very obscure Easter egg, or it could be an actual Autons episode.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a 3-to-1 ratio that we're dealing with here.
Firstly, would you like to see the return of the Autons, since the last time we properly saw them was in Rose with a flashback in Love and Monsters with Elton, hashtag bring back Elton, or do you think it's about time we saw them?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been over 10 years. It's been crikey 15 years since we've seen the Autons.
Yeah.
I think a return from them is way overdue. It's actually, if all of these are confirmed, Zygons, Sontarans, Autons, you already know about the Weeping Angels. I imagine it's within the realms of possibilities that at some point, if not this series, but this year, that we see the Daleks or the Master again, or both. It's funny how started off with making a very strong point of no returning classic monsters.
Yeah.
Now we're getting almost well, if all of these monsters were returning, and this is an 8-episode series, it would be the majority of the stories would be returning classic monsters.
Yeah, that's 4 returning monsters. That would be half the series.
Yeah. which is kind of crazy. However, if this is Jodie's final series, or possibly even Chibnall's final series, maybe the reason they're all being packed in is that Chibnall wants to tackle all of these classic monsters in his run while he still can.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Potentially,
Or he at least wants Jodie to face them all.
Yeah, so we'll get on to that. I've got that next. So we've gone through, that's all the news I have on monsters. We've done the TARDIS. Let's go into actual cast members returning. Let's get the big one out of the way that is most current. Is Catherine Tate. Now, Doctor Who has been filming in Liverpool, and Jodie, Mandip, and June Bishop have all been seen filming. At the same time as that, people were tweeting that they were bumping into Catherine Tate in Liverpool. Now, one account said that they had spoken to Catherine and she wasn't allowed to say what she was filming. Now, you could think that was just someone speculating, but the account in question had nothing to do with Doctor Who and didn't seem to be a Doctor Who fan. And once they started getting messages from Doctor Who fans wanting more information about meeting Catherine, they quickly asked Doctor Who fans to shut up and leave them alone. So that leads me to think that there is some truth to that. But since then, Radio Times have contacted Catherine Tate's agent, who has said that Catherine isn't in Liverpool and is not filming Doctor Who. But obviously, that's what they would say, even if she was returning anyway. So I would ignore that and just ask you, Harry, what do you think of that? Do you think Donna Noble should return? No.
I don't understand. The thing is, if Donna Noble was to return, wouldn't that mean that like she would suddenly remember everything if she encountered the Doctor and all these monsters, and then her brain would do the crazy thing and she'd die?
Well, this is what I said in my little video about it, but then I sort of did your excuse, which is the crack in time changed everything, maybe? We're not sure how that worked.
Closing the crack magically fixed her brain.
Or Donna, when she returns, is actually a Zygon who doesn't know that if Donna does see the Doctor, she implodes. So we think we've got the return of Donna, and then warp at the end of the episode. It's a big suckery Zygon.
I feel like either of those would be somewhat of a letdown for audiences. But I feel like Donna magically being fixed by the crack. Well, I guess it'd be nicer to see it undoes the
Donna magically being fixed by the crack. That just made me laugh.
Yeah. But like if that sort of happens, that would undo the tragedy of the 10th Doctor having to part with her.
Yeah, well, that's what Christian knows all about.
I feel like that was
He's undoing history. He doesn't understand the show, Harry. He's ruining your childhood. I'm just saying it now before everybody comments it, because you would be surprised. No matter what I put in the title. Yeah. The TARDIS dying. The TARDIS should die anyway. Christian who killed the show years ago. Right, yeah, nice one, mate. So
I've been doing it 3 years.
So you're not that sold on the idea, never mind if it's true or not, of Donna Noble returning, because I'm not either. I think there's other companions.
I feel like
I would rather
it's hard to find. Yeah, I just feel like it's hard to find a kind of respectable way that kind of maintains what happened to a character before without either undoing it or it being like a clout and she's a Zygon, which I feel like whilst people would love to see Catherine Tate on our screens again, I don't think people want to see her as a Zygon. Similarly to how I think there were people who were disappointed in Billie Piper returning in the 50th as the Moment rather than as Rose.
What do you think then if she was to return in the 60th alongside David Tennant? I've said it now. He's in the thumbnail. It's all good. David Tennant could return for the 60th. How would you feel if he was to return with Donna?
It would be an interesting choice because I feel like the companion most people would want to associate with the 10th Doctor and David Tennant would be Rose, Billie Piper. However, I mean, my personal favorite of Tennant's companions was Catherine Tate as Donna. So I'd actually be all for that, yeah. And that would also be a very clean way of having Donna return in a way that does not mess with the current established status quo.
We're rocking all over the world. I like it, I like it, I like it, I like it, I la 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 like it, la 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 like it. We go rocking all over the world. Do you get it? You said Status Quo, which is a band, and Rocking All Over the World is a song by Status Quo. David Tennant returning. What do you think of that? I'm just going to say it because I like starting that rumor. I like starting a rumor that I think we already accidentally started several weeks ago, just before the Christmas special came out. It started again. Is he coming back for Series 13? He's back and everything else.
I feel like when it comes to Doctor Who fandom, David Tennant is in a constant state of rumoured returning.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's going to return for this series. I feel like we're not going to see him again until at least an anniversary special, like the 60th. Personally, I really can't envisage him just like making a surprise guest appearance like Captain Jack did last. Just because if David Tennant was coming back, the BBC would want people to know about it.
Can you imagine though, if you were watching Fugitive of the Jadoon and Bradley Walsh lands on that ship, and not David Tennant, but it says, you can get excited now, and then it warps, and it's like Matt Smith as the Doctor. How exciting would that be if you didn't know that was going to happen?
But if a Doctor was returning, even just... Well, that being said, they didn't make a big deal about Tom Baker coming back as the curator, did they?
But that was only so small, wasn't it? That wasn't... So what I guess they would do...
Make a big deal.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't make a big deal about Captain Jack coming back for Fugitive, because that was just... But I feel like if they were bringing back David Tennant, they wouldn't bring him back just for a one-scene cameo. They'd want him for a full episode.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. He wouldn't return just for that. It's too expensive. Somebody who possibly might not be returning to Doctor Who Series 13 is Joe Martin's Fugitive Doctor, Ruth. I can't remember if we spoke about it or if I spoke about it with Harrison. I get you two confused. But she hasn't heard from Chibnall, and she said that she would love to return, but she hasn't heard anything yet, and she would like her own spin-off. So maybe we won't be getting any Fugitive Doctor this series, which makes me think that if we're not getting any Fugitive Doctor this series, does that mean Jodie will be staying for another series and then they'll resolve that and talk about that then? Or is everybody lying to us again?
I feel like the way the Chibnall's run has been so far, it feels like he's got this overarching story throughout Jodie's kind of planned out, you know? He planted the seeds of the Timeless Child in the Ghost Monument in Series 11. He spent all Series 12 stuff and introducing these questions, some of which have been answered, some of which are still very much mysteries. It only makes sense for him to continue progressing that in Series 13 and answering those questions, including the proper identity of the Fugitive Doctor. So I'm expecting her to appear at some point, even if it's just to explain her origin or where she places in the Doctor lineage.
Yeah. I forgot to mention earlier, as well as Catherine Tate being spotted in Liverpool, Arthur Darvill, who played Rory Williams, also spotted in Liverpool. Now, I don't think that's got absolutely nothing to do with Doctor Who. He might just be in Liverpool. How would you feel about the idea of Rory Williams returning, but not Amy Pond? I love the idea that a Zygon has gone. I like the Zygon's gone. Oh, we must get the Doctor. Let's be the ginger companion and her boyfriend. And one Zygon's just like got the complete wrong companion, and they turn up and they're like, "Hi, it's us."
Not even the same. Actually, if that happened, I take everything back. If the Zygons turned into Catherine Tate and Arthur Darvill, and that was how they did it, I would be curious all for it. If it was just one big dumb joke, I'd be 100% up for that.
It'll be like that scene in
If
Baby
Arthur
Driver.
Darvill,
You know where they get like the Michael Myers mask, and it's the wrong Michael Myers. They get Austin Powers instead of Halloween Michael Myers, and then, like the doctor's like, "This doesn't seem right. Why is Rory with Donna?"
also, I feel like Arthur Darvill and Catherine Tate could work really well together. I can imagine them having great chemistry.
Yeah, so do I. I think that would be fun.
With that being said, if Arthur Darvill were to return as Rory Williams, it would be a very bizarre character return, especially if he didn't have Amy with him. If it were to happen in the sense that he appeared in a historical episode as the Centurion protecting the Pandorica, that makes sense. However, I don't know if that was undone by the crack. Was that undone by the crack though?
I'm not sure, but they recently
crack
did
magic
it.
fix that?
They recently did it with Big Finish. He just had his own Big Finish range of Centurion stories.
Yeah.
Well, just him just
Although
sat there
he
for
was
4 hours.
Yeah.
Just
Spot in Sheffield, I'm assuming that would be a present day episode because
Liverpool.
all the present day is it Liverpool? I imagine it's Liverpool. I imagine it's going to be John Bishop's character introduction, won't it?
Yeah, well, that's the thing is that Dan is seen to appear for the first time in episode 3 of Doctor Who. Series 3, episode 13 of Doctor Who is apparently the episode in which he finally boards the TARDIS. Now, we've had various rumours online about this, but friend of the show, Shebogan Who, Paul is his real name, is I don't know if that's confirmed. I might have just revealed his identity. His name's Paul. There you go. He does a Shebogan Poop. Does a Shebogan Who podcast. He lives in Liverpool and he saw them filming Doctor Who and he went and saw Jodie and Mandip and John. He saw them all filming. And I was speaking to him today and he said that he had no exciting gossip apart from the fact that it seemed to be the first time that the character of Dan boarded the TARDIS. And that's episode 3 because we've seen it on production slates using the clapperboards. Episode 3, scene 9 in particular. So yeah, that's quite strange that we could be getting a brand new companion who's not going to be joining the TARDIS crew from the very start. But then again, I quite like a bit of change. I don't like the formula, the familiarity of Doctor Who sometimes with how a series will be constructed.
Absolutely, I agree. I feel like Doctor Who, like you said at the beginning of this, is a show that's become really identified and defined by its ability to change. So sticking to some familiar in its structuring would really go against the spirit of that. So, and I think it'd be cool to have a couple of just 13 and Yaz stories and see how they play off each other, and really maybe that would allow an opportunity for their relationship to develop in a way that we haven't properly seen yet in series 11 and 12.
I mean, we haven't even
see if they are actually able to function. Yeah, because like we don't know, can they function as just a duo, or will Yaz's kind of feelings of attachment be too strong for the Doctor to handle because the 13th Doctor is a much more disconnected. There's a would really play with if they want to.
Yeah, it would be good to see that. I have to wait and see. Oh, it's all very exciting. I do like Doctor Who speculation. It's my favourite thing because I like spreading rumours. Thank you all very much for listening. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. One day I'm just going to do a Series 13 production video like I've always done. It's going to be complete bullshit. I'm going to make the whole thing up and I'm just going to see what happens. I'm going to make some weird rumour of that could possibly be true and just see what happens. But you'll never know which one it is because most people won't listen to this far into the video. So it's just a secret for now. Thank you very much for listening, everybody. Harry, you look like you've got something to say.
Yeah, like before we end, we need to talk about, the bit of Doctor Who media that we have. The 30 seconds of Jodie Whittaker and Yaz in Relief 2020, the movie trailer.
Oh, Jesus. I only saw this today because I was working when Comic Relief was on. I won't go into my political thoughts on Comic Relief. But that was really shit, wasn't it?
The thing that struck me was that they kind of had a back and forth there that we hadn't seen on the actual show yet.
But that wasn't the Doctor and that wasn't the Doctor and Yaz, was it? It was. I think they said Jodie Whittaker as a Doctor, and Mandip Gill as another
Mandip
Doctor.
Gill
So I feel like they were playing
were...
Jodie and Mandip. They weren't playing.
They were playing Jodie and Mandip, not Jodie and Yaz.
But that said, they did have